going on, everybody? You're seeing me a little bit sooner than Sunday because we've got breaking news. Cheryl Reeve of the Minnesota Lynx has been suspended. The league just announced a few minutes ago. WNBA Communications posted on Twitter, Minnesota Lynx Cheryl Reeve has been suspended for one game for her conduct and comments following the Lynx loss. So they got her for everything. They got her for failure to leave the court in a timely manner, aggressively pursuing and verbally abusing a game official. So, when she started guarding that inbounds, apparently that's not allowed in the league. Inappropriate comments made to fans when exiting the court and remarks made in the post-game press conference. Reeve will serve the suspension tomorrow when the Lynx play the Mercury in Game 4 of the team's semifinal series in Phoenix. In addition, they got all the assistant coaches, and that's where I think it's kind of interesting. Eric Tybalt, Rebecca Brunson have been fined. Inappropriate interaction with an official on the court. Brunson was fined for an inappropriate social media comment directed at WNBA officials. Okay, well, So let's start with, is the suspension warranted? I think yes. When you run down the laundry list of everything that just happened, we talked about it last night on the post game, Andrew and I. When you start calling into question people's jobs and saying people need to get replaced, that's when eyebrows start getting raised, because now you're actually calling out your boss. And she stopped herself short of actually saying Kathy, but we understood what the implications were there, and it's you can't be doing that. In terms of her on the court actions, I think if she had just stopped at going after the ref and got herself tossed for that, I don't think we're talking about the suspension. But it's just everything from then to now, it was too much, and you got to do something about it. The fan interaction I thought was interesting because the fan actually made contact with her first. So she's on her way out. The fans are cheering and doing their thing. So for better or for worse, they were keeping that same energy. And when she's coming around the corner, one of the fans reaches out, and it looked like they made contact with her. So I understand her yelling at that fan. I don't know what the other fan said on the way out, but if I'm crashing out and y'all are touching me, I kind of get it. But again, you can't have your coaches and such arguing with the consumer and cussing them out. That's bad for business. And you can argue if she had just walked off the court on her own volition, she probably wouldn't have been that close to the fans, because she was getting hauled off like she's getting tossed out the club. And so in the process of them restraining her and trying to get her off the court and into the concourse, you get a little close to the crowd. So I think if she had walked off, things might have been different. So I understand it. The way she pulled up on the refs, I don't mind it. You had to press the issue, and it's nothing that Moki don't do on a normal Thursday night. I don't know. Sometimes coaches be on the court. Who's to say? So I think the suspension is absolutely warranted given everything she said and did in succession. Now, do I think it was necessary? Because now you put your team in a very, very vulnerable position. Have not gotten word on Nafisa Collier's status yet. So the ankle injury still looks pretty bad. Not sure what her status is yet. Cheryl kind of mentioned a fracture, the possibility of a fracture. The ankle didn't look great. They reported that she was in a wheelchair, after the game. So we're not sure about her status. But what I do know is she's been injured before this season. And yes, it wasn't in the playoffs, but it's still something to go off of. And we've seen this team be able to rally and hold down the fort in honor of her, in lieu of her. So I think Cheryl getting herself suspended while the righteous rage was justified, it's like, was this the best time to go all out and do all of that? Because now it kind of feels like you're waving the white flag, because now your team is supposed to overcome not having their star player and not having their coach. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we're looking with the Indiana Fever. They've been able to rally and overcome injury after injury after injury to the guard position. But it's like, if you take out all of those guards and all of those injuries, and then on top of that, Stephanie White is out, and that's the person that's been like keeping everybody together and rallying the troops and getting them, ready for battle. That's a lot. So I think that's where it's kind of, to me, like, did you need to do this at this time and in this way? So I understand the crash out being valid, and you have a point there. I get it. Fee did not shoot a lot of free throws. She had 5 fouls. She didn't shoot any free throws, I believe. And that was kind of the bone of contention. And this is a two things can be true situation, because, and I said this on the post game last night, we can say that Fee needed to be more aggressive in the fourth. We can say Fee needed to take more shots in the fourth. We can say Fee needed to have a different energy as an MVP candidate in the fourth and really like leave her fingerprints on the game at that moment and become like that inevitable force and will her team in and like, give me the ball, get out the way, I'll get it done, I'll make it happen. We can say that those things needed to happen, and we still need to see that from her as a superstar to put her in that like next tier. And we can also say like officiating does need to be better as the team superstar. So yeah, she shot no free throws. She had 5 fouls and no free throw attempts. So that is, and with the physicality that team plays with, and with her, I know she's a big. So it's like you got hit at least one time. I know you did. At least you can't tell me she didn't get hit at least one time. I thought something that was interesting and probably played into a lot of this stuff that was announced was the NBA officials tweeting today about said foul. This is not a foul. Thomas legally gets to the ball and knocks the ball loose prior to any contact. The leg-to-leg contact is incidental once the ball is clearly loose. This is correctly judged in real time, and no call has as a no call where the I don't got my glasses on. My bad, y'all. Correctly judged in real time. My bad. As a no call, as were the subsequent technical fouls. So the league officials feel like they got it right, and I still feel like they got it wrong. I feel like they can't say anything other than what they said. To me, and I guess, obviously this is like, who are you to go against the league officials? And it's like, somebody with eyes. I don't know. Like, obviously Cheryl disagreed too. I think with that foul, the angle that Fee was coming into, she's kind of turning the corner. So Alyssa Thomas gets a clean strip in the upper body, but the lower bodies were always set to collide because you didn't create it's one thing if you just stand in place and somebody runs into you, that's a charge, right? Because you shouldn't just, let them have a clear path to the basket. This isn't prom. You're not escorting them to the basket. But if you stand there and they run into you and they create the contact, yes. But if you don't give them some place to go, she's turning the corner. You're launching yourself at the ball to get the steal. So her lower body didn't, to me, have any place to go. So that contact was the homie tweeted this earlier. Like, there was no way for that contact to be avoided. And to me, it's like with a block. If I don't give you landing space on your shot, if I don't give you, if I get a clean upper body block, don't get your arms, don't get your hands or anything of that. But like my legs are all over the place and I'm like hitting you with the body, still a foul. I could get a clean block, but I still fouled you. So I think that's kind of what happened with the steal. Like, I still disagree. I still think it could have been a foul. And I understand like the different angles and how it would look clean and look this, that, the third. I think that the steal, the injury happening on the steal was still kind of a freak accident, but it is still like it's just a bad look. It's just a bad look. Especially with the nature of the game, how people are chirping back and forth. I don't mind that, but it's just like when you have things get to this point, that's when everybody's looking at everything in totality, and it just looks even worse than if one thing had occurred or another thing or this, that, the third. So yeah, like I said, I disagree it's a foul. League obviously disagrees with me saying it's a foul. I know I'm right. Why argue when you can just wait? The league will come around to my side eventually. But what does this mean for the Lynx moving forward? Because that's actually again, with Cheryl going out, I think they're kind of cooked. Like, if it's just Fee out, it's like, yeah, that's a huge blow. But again, you've seen teams rally, you've seen teams hold it together, you've seen teams make improbable runs. We're watching a team do that literally right now in the other semifinals matchup, but without your coach, without the person that's behind, kind of the X's and O's, without the person that's behind, the rallying spirit that was going to step for you. I think it's great that all the assistant coaches are also on the same page, so you might be able to rally. Rebecca Brunson might be able to get it done. Eric Tybalt is funny, bro, because people wanted him out at Washington, and now like here he go. Like, he might, I don't know who's gonna be first chair, but it might be him, and that's gonna be really interesting because nobody's ever really been convinced of his coaching. Even though, like, I will say, when the Mystics were winless in his like last season, they were a very competitive winless team. So it's like now he has talent and can make it happen. We'll see what happens. But I feel like, I'm not saying the white flag was intentionally waved, but it just feels like this is it. It doesn't bode well for the Lynx. They could still make something happen, but we'll see. And we will see in 24 hours, because the game is tomorrow and we're going to be back for playoff-a-thon. We'll be back with post-game analysis. We'll be back to say if I was wrong or not, or if I was right, because maybe the league comes around and says it was a foul. Like, yeah, we made a mistake. Sorry, we got caught in the hype. But yeah, I think it's all going to be interesting to watch how this plays out. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, because we're going to be in here talking about it and you won't want to miss it. So we will catch you tomorrow, and have a good one.